We are mid-November, and about this time of year, every single year, I start to get the questions from my kids and my husband. What do you want for Christmas and what do you want for your birthday? Because my birthday is also in December. I need to have items that are ready to go. I want them to be things that I will use all the time. I want to feel like I am honoring their gift to me. So I want it to be something that I find to be very useful. So, in that regard, I thought I would go over with you the tools that have been most useful for me this past year in food preservation. Now, some of these have also been useful for the past couple of decades, right? But some of them are brand new to me this year, and I have loved having them. We're going to go through the preservation tools by type of preservation that we're talking about. So, I will mark chapters down below. If you want to just hear about canning, you can go to that section. If you want to just hear about drying, you can go to that section. Fermenting. Once we get through the kitchen tools, I am going to take you on a field trip to one of my favorite ways to kickstart the holiday season. Let's talk about my most used products for fermentation. When I started fermenting 5 or 6 years ago, I started by making kombucha. It was brand new to me. I was very intimidated by the thought of this funky looking thing that floats around at the top of the fermentation vessel. And I'm like, what is a SCOBY? Why is it slimy? Should it always look like that? It just takes doing it over and over again and understanding the process of what is happening in there and why the SCOBY is such a very beneficial thing. So this has been a fantastic vessel that has probably been in use almost every day of the last 5 or 6 years. I love it. I bought one with a stainless steel spout. I wanted everything to be simple and easy to sterilize in between batches. You don't have to wash it out and sterilize between every batch, but every few batches, I do like to do that just to be on the safe side. So this has been a fantastic investment and so useful to me almost every day the past 5 or 6 years. Now let's talk about weights. This is the first batch I bought, and I've lost one or two of these over the years, so I'm not sure. I don't know how that happened. But anyway, it turned out to be a really good thing because I came across these that I absolutely love. I like these so much better than these because these have this handy little handle that makes them so much easier to get out of the jar when the fermentation is done. So these are used to weigh down the food so that it stays below the level of the liquid and so therefore is not exposed to oxygen, because if it gets exposed to oxygen, you're going to have mold issues and that kind of stuff. The weights help keep them, whatever you have in there, whether it's peppers or tomatoes or whatever it may be, keeps it down below the liquid line so that the food is not exposed to oxygen. These are fantastic. If I have to buy another batch, which I probably will for next year because I kept running out of my tools because they were all being used at one time, I will definitely get another with the knob on top rather than these, which just have a little slot. You have to reach in there and try to grab it, and I can get a little slippery. So that was never the most graceful way to deal with a fermentation weight. These are called pickle pipes. This batch here I've had since I started fermenting. There are 10 in this package. This year, there were multiple times when I had them completely used up and couldn't start any other fermentation project. I wanted to do fermented pico de gallo, but all of my pickle pipes were being used by either pickles or peppers or preparing for hot sauces or pepper mashes. So this year, I could not find another 10-pack, and I looked everywhere for a 10-pack. It was crazy. I found a 4-pack. So I went ahead and bought this, but I may have to get another 4-pack because next year I really do see having a lot more fermentation projects going on. The more I do it, the more I feel really good about it and happy to have it on hand. And I love being able to create these new products. You get the fizz from the kombucha, you get a fabulous twang in your hot sauce, you get the great pepper mashes that end up with just a fantastic texture, a little bit of fizz to them, a great bite, but it just mellows out as it goes. We've had such a good time with all of the fermented products this year. The next year we'll be doing more. So if you're not ready for fermentation season next year, any of these would be fantastic options to add to your Christmas wish list or to just go buy yourself a gift. So the weights, the pickle pipes, and the kombucha vessel, they've been essentials ever since I started fermenting. These are not essential, obviously, but they are so much fun and they make the end product feel all that more special. So I have really enjoyed them. David has really enjoyed them, and they are really fun, nice to have. So make sure you have all of your tools set for fermenting next year. We'll be doing a good bit of it. And we're going to be branching out to some new things for me. I've been looking at recipes and I'm getting really excited about some of the things we're going to do next year. Well, you knew we were going to have to talk about canners, right? And you know that we're going to start with the Presto Electric. It has probably been my number one best preservation tool I have purchased. I use this thing all the time if I'm going to be pressure canning something. It is easy. It manages itself for the most part. I can go and do other things. I can concentrate on other things. I can have a conversation with my husband. He can watch TV, or whether he's watching the game or the news or whatever in the other room, without the constant rattle of the stovetop canner. This one is very quiet. I love this pressure canner. It is always my first choice. And if you're going to be starting out on your canning journey, I think that this is an outstanding one to get. Now let's talk 1 second about the All-American. Here's my All-American. It is not a huge one because we are not a huge family. It will hold more jars at a time than the Presto Electric. And I love it. It's great quality. It requires a lot more babysitting than this one does. But say you are a large family, or you are looking at buying a canner for someone with a large family. I was at my friend Christine's the other day, and she has one that you can double stack pints in. And we did, I think, 16 pints of beef stew at a time. And I found myself thinking, man, wouldn't that be great? Maybe I need a bigger one. And then I thought, well, Carter, you are a family of two. How much beef stew do you really eat throughout the year? So make sure you get the right size for your family. And that is the right size for my family. This is the right size for my family. I would not be happier, I don't think, with one of the smaller ones. But if you're a single person, Nesco, and there's one other brand, I think, related to Nesco that makes a smaller one. I'll try to link that one as well. I don't have any experience with it, but I have heard very good things about it. But this, to me, is just the perfect size for us. All right, let's talk about this one, because is this a stock pot or is it a water bath canner? Well, in my house, it is both. Typically, this is just the right size for me. The important thing is to get one that is tall enough that you can get your water over the jars when you're going to go to water bath. Now, you also need to make sure, and this is just a stock pot, you also need to make sure that if you're going to use it as a water bath canner, you need something to keep the jars off the bottom of the pot. It can be a silicone hot pad. It can be a dish towel. It can be rings from canning jars. Just lay them out nice and neatly and then carefully put your jars on top so that they stay on top of those rings. Or you can buy a rack on Amazon. Just make sure, of course, you get the right size to fit in your pot. This is the one I use, and it just fits nicely down in there. And then I like having a clear lid on this so that I can see it bubbling up. And this one has a little vent hole. I can always see the steam coming up through. I feel like I have great control over what's happening in this pot when I'm using it as a water bath canner. So that's fantastic. And then, of course, I can make my sauces in it. Whatever it is that I'm making, I can certainly make it here, and then either go pressure can something or wash it out and turn it into a water bath canner for the next round. The next thing I want to talk about is my steam canner. This, I think I got this in the middle of last year's preservation season, and I love it. I have quickly fallen madly in love with it because it's very light, it's very easy to lift. It only uses a couple inches of water. So this one, even though it's not very big, it can get really heavy when it is filled with water, and I have to empty out the water when I'm done canning it. So whether I'm dumping it down the sink or watering houseplants, it can be a lot. This one only needs 2 inches or so of water, and it is super light, super easy, doesn't waste water. I can carry it anywhere, anytime. I'm a huge fan of the steam canner. This is the Fruit Saver. I think that there is another brand as well. I'll see what I can find to put it down below. But this is the one with which I have experience, and I love it, the Fruit Saver. All right, let's move on. You all know that cookbooks are some of my favorite things ever. I have some that I used extensively this year that I thought I'd talk about today. So not to totally overwhelm you with all of the wonderful cookbooks I have. Fermented hot sauces. This one has so many different hot sauces, and it has different ways to use it. I have so much left to explore in this one. And fairy ferments, some of my pepper mashes came from this one. There is so much more that I need to learn out of these cookbooks. I'm looking forward to really using them even more often next summer. But this summer, I tell you what, they came in so handy, and I had so much fun dreaming about what I was going to make. So both of these are excellent choices, and we'll be using them much more next year. Okay, that's fermentation. Let's talk about canning now. For years, Preserving with Pomona's Pectin, this has been one of my favorite resource books. I love it. I did several projects from here this summer, as I always tend to do. So this is always going to be a perennial favorite for me. If you are looking to completely cut out or reduce your sugar consumption, or switch from sugar to honey or to allulose, or to whatever it is you want to use that is safe for canning, this is just a fantastic resource for that. Now, regular canning recipes, meal recipes, that kind of thing. This one got more use for me this year than it has in previous years. One of my favorite recipes of the year, and we tweaked it a little bit, but it all started here in this book for enchilada sauce. So this book got lots of love this year. Now, I have two that I really didn't use much this year, but they get an honorable mention here. This one, because I think that every canner's library should have this one in there. It's a resource. Back in the day, we would always have a thesaurus and a dictionary and a set of World Book encyclopedias or whatever, either accessible in the library or at home. This is that type of thing for me. I can always go back and reference it for whatever it is that I need. But if I'm having one of those moments that I'm like, I can't remember how long salsa needs to process, or I can't remember whatever, or how should I do this? What's the time difference if I'm going to pressure can tomatoes versus water bath can tomatoes? You find those answers in this book, and this is great to have on the bookshelf. So another one that I don't think I used this year at all, I used a lot last year. You can see I've made a lot of recipes out of this one, and I just simply didn't need to make any more of those particular recipes this year. But this is a great resource to have on your bookshelf as well. So this gets a runner-up nod. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about drying and storing food. One of the things I really think needs to be in many kitchens is some way to dehydrate food, whether you're dehydrating fruits and vegetables or you're dehydrating meat into jerky, which actually is what I just ran a load this morning. So I've got some beef jerky in there that I need to get into storage. This is probably the least expensive food dehydrator out there. I've had it for a bunch of years. I've never had an issue with it. I have lots of extra trays, so I can pile this up to 9 or 10 trays. I have screens. I have the flat mats if you want to do fruit roll-ups. This has been an excellent investment. There are bigger ones out there, more powerful ones. I enjoy having this one. It works just fine, but I will link several below that have some excellent recommendations. The next thing I want to talk about is my vacuum sealer. Now, I've told you about this vacuum sealer before. I have been through so many vacuum sealers. I started out with the big Food Saver and probably went through 2 or 3 of those over the years. They drove me nuts. They didn't want to work. They always wanted to take breaks. Things didn't seal properly. They didn't suction properly. This one, and I had never heard of this brand. I'm not sponsored. This is just a brand that works and works and works. And I do a lot of vacuum sealing all the time, not just during preservation season. but I do a lot of it. So I will link this down below. I can't even pronounce it. Melise, maybe? I don't know. But this one is absolutely fantastic. It is not very expensive, and I love it. I wouldn't trade this one for anything in the world. The next thing I have found is that the Avid Armor bags always work. Great thickness. They are fantastic. I have learned my lesson the hard way. I have bought cheaper bags. I have bought the deal, right? And they were not a deal because I just won't use them. They come unsealed. They seep too much oxygen. The Avid Armor bags come in different sizes that preservers can relate to. So this is the pint size. There's also a quart size, and then there's a gallon size. So what kinds of dried foods do I like to vacuum seal? The first is jerky, and that's what I'll be doing with this today. I like to vacuum seal my jerky into individual serving size packages, and then I stick it in the freezer so that when we're going on a road trip or the kids are going home, whether they're flying or driving or whatever, I can give them just a package and they have a snack to take with them and they don't have to stop and get fast food. So that's a big one for that. The other thing I like to do is when I dry an excess of herbs, I don't keep a giant spice bottle in my shelf. So I don't keep one of these in my shelf. I don't necessarily want another one of these, hanging out in the pantry because the jars do get heavy. But this does not get heavy. So I will just vacuum seal the rest of the herbs that I think I'll use within a year. This is not a long-term packaging. We'll get to long-term packaging here in a minute, but this is easily within a year. It's just fine. So now let's talk about sealing things in jars. Now these are freeze-dried potatoes that I sealed in this jar. To seal up a jar, I have tried many of these. This is the one that works. It works perfectly. I won't say every time, but almost every time, probably 90% of the time, I get a great seal on the first try. It's not an expensive tool. I will link it down below. I have used this for maybe 3 years now, 4 years now, something like that. But I try to seal up all of my jars that aren't in my ready-to-use category. So these are not in use yet, but when they are, I won't necessarily be sealing them every time. Then there are attachments that you can buy. These are not a name brand. These are just an off-brand, and they work just fine. You just put it over the jar, put this right on top, push this down, and it will seal up for you. This is the Food Saver version of that. Any of these should work just fine. I'll link the ones I have down below. Now let's talk about some long-term storage. Mylar. Whether you have a freeze dryer or not, Mylar is fantastic. So let's say you have rice that you want to store for 20 or 30 years. Mylar bag and some good oxygen absorbers, that's going to take care of that for you. If you have corn or grains or whatever it is that you have, Mylar bags are the way to go for long-term storage. They're not nearly as heavy as a glass jar. They don't let the light in. They don't let any air in. You don't have to worry about it once it is sealed properly in a Mylar bag. So let's talk about the sealer. Whether or not you have a freeze dryer doesn't really matter. I use this on dehydrated foods as well. I also use it on dry storage foods. So as I said, my sealer comes from Harvest Right, but I think that 4 Jars also makes one. There are probably a couple of other companies out there that make one. I know Wallaby makes one as well. So I will link several below that have good reviews. But this is something, doesn't matter whether you have a freeze dryer or not. It's great for sealing up the Mylar bags. All right, let's talk about some tools that make the prep work so much easier when you're in the midst of a long day of preserving or a long week or a long season of preserving. There are some tools that just make it go faster. And sometimes, as much as we enjoy the process, faster is a really good thing, particularly if you're doing a lot of processing. One of the first things you'll want to be able to figure out how you're going to do when you go to process, say, what's coming in out of the garden, is chopping and dicing, right? Now, you can use a knife, no doubt about it. You can use a knife. That's all I had for years and years, and I managed just fine. I didn't necessarily enjoy making salsa with all of that chopping, but I managed just fine, and you certainly can. Then I bought, this is a potato dicer, I guess they call it. I don't know, but you can dice pretty much anything on here. Tomatoes are a little harder to dice on this because they do get squished. But you have a large dicing blade, and then inside here I have a smaller dicing blade. So you can get various sizes, and they're all uniform, and I love that. This has been a fantastic tool. It's not very expensive. I've had this one for, oh gosh, I don't know, 10 or 15 years, I guess. So this particular one is not available anymore, but I will link the newest version of this. This is an outstanding tool. It's easy to use. Perfect. So this year I took another step up, not a necessary step up, but one I really enjoy and appreciate greatly. This is a dicing food processor. Now, this is not the only brand. There are several brands at various price points, and I will link all of those down below. This is the Breville. The key with one of these dicing things is the dicing kit. In some instances, you may have already a food processor, and then there is a dicing kit available separately that you can buy aftermarket. There's some on Amazon. There's some at all of the kitchen stores. So take a look at that if you're interested. The dicing kit is generally not massively expensive, but there are several food processors that also have a dicing kit that they come with. There's a Cuisinart one that I think Chelsea, Little Mountain Ranch uses. And I know that one of our longtime viewers also has that one, and she loves it. And it's probably half the price of this one. And there is nothing wrong with spending less money. There is also an attachment to a KitchenAid mixer that will do some dicing for you. And I believe you can change the sizes on that, and that gets very good reviews. So there may be a couple of others. There's also a smaller version of this one. All kinds of options there, and they are just starting to come into fashion here recently in the past year or so. So there may be additional options in the works that will eventually bring that price down. But I'm going to link this one. I'm going to link a couple of the others. But having this, it goes so quickly to dice. So quickly. It's just, it's really crazy. I can dice 20 pounds of tomatoes in, I don't know, less than 5 minutes. It's really ridiculously fast. So this has been a great addition to my prep work. I wish I had gotten it earlier in the season when I was doing more processing. I got it late, but fantastic tool. And you can see I did a whole bunch of my end of season processing using this tool. The next thing I want to talk about, this is new for me this year too. And I know that sounds crazy given it is such a simple, basic tool. This is just the food mill. It is easy food mill. It is powered by you. It is fantastic. I have really enjoyed this. It's very sturdy, holds together very well, has 3 different blades. I bought this because the first time I made enchilada sauce this past season, I was trying to push that stuff through just a regular sieve. And my goodness, that was an arm workout, like no other arm workout. So I bought this, and I did my second batch of enchilada sauce with this. I did several of my fruit sauces with this year. I just love it. It's been really fantastic. Now, I do have a tomato food mill. I don't use that. I haven't used it in years. You've never seen me use it on the channel here because I personally make such a mess with that. So I just don't do that. But this one, I don't make a mess in. I don't know exactly what the difference is in terms of my mess making ability, but this one has worked out really well for me, and it's not expensive either. Now let's talk about blending and pulverizing. This is the Cuisinart Smart Stick, and there are millions of different brands of these. There are some that are plug-in, some that are run on batteries. I will say that you tend to get more power in a plug-in one than you do with a battery one, but that's a general statement. There may be some exceptions to that. This is so easy just to bring over to the stove and to blend up whatever it is. If I don't need something to be incredibly smooth, right? If I'm not going to worry about putting it through the food mill, or if I'm not going to worry about pulverizing it in a high-speed blender, this is just perfect. Leaves me with a little bit of texture, but really takes down the chunks. So this is an excellent tool to have. Next thing is a pulverizing blender. And I use this one so much, particularly when I am making sauces and a soup that I want to be creamy, like a tomato soup kind of thing. But this has been great for hot sauces. I can throw those fermented peppers in there and some of the brine and just pulverize the heck out of it and come out with a very flavorful, rich, and somewhat thick still hot sauce. So this has been fantastic. Does not have to be a Vitamix. This is a very expensive machine. This was a David purchase one time when he decided he needed to be able to pulverize a whole lemon for some health drink he was drinking. So he came home with a Vitamix. I was perfectly happy with my Ninja. But any type of high-speed, high-powered blender that's really going to pulverize something will be very handy. Now, if you don't have one that really completely does the job, you can always then pour something through a sieve or pour something through some cheesecloth and get it down even finer, but you may lose some of the thickness in it. So that's my point here. But this has been a great tool, and you probably want to have something that's going to help you in that regard. Okay, let's move on to some other everyday tools. Let's wrap up our food preservation most useful tools list with some very small items. They would make great stocking stuffers. They're not very expensive, and yet I use them all the time. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is the jar opener. Now, this will open a mason jar lid without denting the lid, without pulling up that little sharp point that comes on the edge. This is fantastic. I love this. I have 2 of these, but I will tell you that the price of this one fluctuates quite a bit. This is the Cookwise, and as I was getting ready for this video, I looked it up and it was listed as $25. That's pretty nuts. You should not spend $25 on this. It does, however, maybe around Black Friday, certainly closer to Christmas, it will drop down and it'll get under $15. That's when you want to buy it. There are other brands out there now that are currently below $15, and I will link those. I don't have any personal experience with them, but if they have a good review, I'll link those as well. But this is the one I have, and I use it several times a day, quite frankly. The next thing, this was a stocking stuffer from one of my kids a couple of years ago, and I love these funnels. Now, this one fits all my mason jars, so wide mouth, regular mouth, whatever. This is what I use. The smaller one, I thought, what on earth am I going to use that one for? It is perfect for filling my spice jars. It's just the right size for these jars that I showed you earlier. And it makes it very easy and far less messy for me to fill my jars this way than it does trying to get them straight in the jar. So these have been fantastic. I use them all the time. Easy to clean, stainless steel, so you don't have to worry about any kind of plastics or anything. The next thing I want to talk about is a pH test strip. So I have been using these for years. I've used multiple different brands. This is the best one when we're talking about food preservation, and I'm going to tell you why. I use this for water bath canning. I want to test the recipe, make sure it is safe for that below 4.6 pH. I use it when I'm making kombucha. I use it when I'm fermenting. I use these all the time in food preservation. I will say that on the microgreen side, I had an issue at one point with the pH of my water, and it was causing issues for my microgreens. So in testing the water I use with microgreens, making sure that the pH is proper to get them to grow quickly, these strips work just fine. Let me tell you what the difference is. These strips only go down to a pH of 4.5, and they go up to a pH of 9. So that doesn't really work for canning. This works fine for microgreens and testing your water. This one goes from 0 to 6.0. This is what I want if I'm going to be preserving food, because I want to make sure it's below 4.6. And frankly, because this is not a super calibrated scientific instrument in a lab, I want to make sure that I'm safely below 4.6. So I usually shoot for 4.0 or below. But you need a test strip that is going to designate those numbers all the way down, not stop at 4, not stop at 3.5, not stop at 4.5 like this one. So this one I have found is absolutely fantastic. Again, not expensive at all. It lasts forever. I've been using this particular one for probably 2 or 3 years, and I still have half a roll left. So that is really fantastic tool to have for all of your preservation needs. And then the next thing, this I bought this year. I don't wear these very much on camera because they're not my finest look. I try to do all of my onion chopping before I get on camera these days. But these work pretty well for me. I will say that they are not absolutely tight against my face, and there is a little bit of carryover from the onions, but these help me so much. Now, I know that there are people who wear goggles and who look absolutely adorable in goggles. I look like a fly in goggles. And then when I take them off, I have marks all around my eyes, and they can stay there for quite some time. So goggles are not really a good option for me. If you're not laughing at me, my husband will be here laughing at me. So I try to stick with these. These are lab glasses like you would wear in a science lab, and they work out just great. So if you have the same issues that I have, I will link these down below. And these are a great thing to find in your stocking, and they're not expensive either. All right, let's run down to the market. Let me show you some really fun stuff. I know you all remember my friend Christine. She's been in several videos. Wave, Miss Christine. Hello. So she is here today at the first holiday makers market of the season. I'm going to let her show you what she has. Everything is available on her website, which I will link down below. All right, Christine, you want to tell us what you have?
So these are incredible throws. The striped one is 60% alpaca, and these are 100% baby alpacas. They're amazing. They come in very neutral colors. This is the porcelain, and this is the carbon. And we will not want to use any other throw once you get one of these.
We could attest to that.
And those are on my website. These are 100, and these are 195.
Very nice.
And then it's also on my website is the Still Heart Journal. And it comes in this beautiful box sent together as a package, the journal, bookmark, and a heart. And this journal is used to record your thoughts while you're reading the Bible. It has a chronological reading plan in the front, but you can really use any reading plan that you want. It's undated, so it's very flexible.
And you designed this yourself, yes?
And I designed it myself.
Wonderful. We love that, Christine.
Thank you.
All right. Are you having a show today?
It's very.
Oh, that's
Thank
outstanding.
you so much.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Thank you. All right. And look what I found next door to my friend Christine at her booth. This is called Shula. And I had made new friends here with Erin, mom, and Delaney, daughter. And they have some wonderful things to show you because I'm about to do some stocking stuffer shopping for my girls at Christmas. Let me introduce you to them. Delaney.
Hi, yeah, nice to meet you.
Right. And here's Erin.
I'm Erin and Mom.
Erin and Mom.
Our family guide.
All right, tell me some of your most popular items.
Yes, for the women around my age at mid-20s, 30, we have been obsessing over Glow Serum.
Okay.
So this is one of our newest products. It is actually made with tremella mushroom, which is a super antioxidant-rich mushroom that holds up to 500 times its weight in water, which is going to plump your skin, remove any fine lines, and really just give you that big, juicy glow. It also has frankincense, rose petals, sea buckthorn oil, which are all amazing for nourishing, for helping with acne, prone skin, sensitive skin, all sorts of issues. So it really works for every skin type. And it smells so good just because of those active ingredients.
And so what about for old ladies like me in their 60s?
We love that. So every age love that, but also the nourishing oil.
If you're super dry, then nourishing oil is a really good option.
Do you want to share about this? This is one of the ones that you use a lot.
Yeah, in this summer, I actually use our hibiscus oil, and I use it kind of year round, and I mix it with the Glow Serum in the daytime. If I'm really dry, I do the nourishing, which has, if you have some inflammation going on or super dryness, it's got the comfrey, which is for the pain. It didn't have any type of like on as redness. And then chamomile, which is very soothing for the skin. We put all of our herbs in for very specific reason. It's a little bit
thicker, so it's great on this time where you're just needing a little extra. Our hibiscus is actually our #1 across the board most popular type for multiple skin types. Highest in vitamin C with the hibiscus, very brightening, and that is actually one of our very original products, and it's been great like moisturizing, and like that. And base is jojoba, which is very close to match to the growth skin naturally. So most skin types do very well with that one, although not quite as thick. Yeah.
Tell me about this wonderful green tea oil here, or lotion, I'm sorry.
So our green tea body balm, that's actually that and our hibiscus are our original 2 products we started with. It goes on nice and thick, so it's great like out your sun, just great for like post shave, eczema, great for all those things, really calming. It does go on pretty thick. Some people use it for their face, for nighttime if you're gonna put it over what you're using. But for some people it's a little thick for the face, but definitely for the body after the shower, after the sun, very calming. It wakes where your skin's flared up from whatever, going on. Now that winter's coming and they're indoors more and the heat's on, definitely get drier. So that's a great thing to have in your arsenal. And if you've gotten away in the sun, it really helps soothe that also. So that is that green tea body balm.
And tell me about these beeswax candles over here.
So those are 100% beeswax candles. We do them in our fun little tapers. Some kids think they're corn on the cob. And then also our pillars and also our tapers. The great thing about beeswax is it's so cleaning, filtering towards the air, so you don't have to worry about leaving anything toxic behind your air, which is great. No fragrances whatsoever, so you just have that lovely beeswax smell.
They do smell delicious.
Yeah. Yeah, they've been a lot of fun. And source those from, we don't have our own bees. We wish we did someday, but we do source those from farmers that you've met along the way. So we get to go out and visit the farms and make sure that everything is organic, clean, and nothing that we don't want to be bringing into our product. Well,
fantastic. And I'm going to link your website down below. So folks can go there. Do you ship outside of the U.S. or just U.S.?
Right now, just the U.S.
Okay. All right, very good. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to do some shopping.
Awesome. If you loved any of the products that you saw today, make sure to use Carter10 at checkout for 10% off site-wide.
All right, I'm making friends all over the place today. We're at V. Lauren & Company, and I have Bianca here with me. Her company makes all of these stunning candles and wonderful, yummy smells of things. It is all done locally here in Tennessee. I'm going to ask her to tell you a couple things about her candles. Okay, Bianca, show me something good. What's your favorite?
My favorite has to be Union Jack, which you can drag inspired by a lot of Tennessee scents. So we've got that whiskey, we have that almost aromatic smell you have when you are driving on a scenic road and all that fun stuff. We just love it so much.
That is that a 3-wick candle or a 1-wick?
So this is a 3-wick.
A 3-wick candle, okay.
And the candles right now that we are making they're made with apricot and coconut wax. So we stay away from soy. We like to keep it natural, and we like to make candles that throw. Because what's the point of a candle if it doesn't burn? We also use all natural scent blends, and they're custom blended from the oil categories and such to make our own custom scents. So the scents that you see here or find here, you're not going to find them at other stores or commercial spaces.
Nice. What's another of your most popular scents?
Most popular, we have the Cashmere Cardigan, which is available online. Actually, found a little single wick of it, Cashmere Cardigan. It's a plum and it has almost like a velvety smell to it. And then we also have English Garden. So this kind of smells like driving on a back road in Tennessee, and that is amazing.
That sounds wonderful.
We are in a middle Tennessee area, so a lot of people like that. And then we also have apple cider, which
apple cider was my favorite.
There, apple cider is a nice blend of apple and some different spices, things like that. Very reminiscent of having all of your family members over and having some apple cider on the stove.
Yes. Tell me about this beautiful candle in the bowl here.
So this bread bowl candle. This bread bowl was hand carved by a local artisan here in Middle Tennessee, and it's definitely very unique. We love them. You can feel all of the different textures of it. And the wax itself is, again, our apricot and coconut wax. So it's definitely been a hit today.
I consider that as beautiful. And so you have a website, which I'll link down below. And did you say during this holiday season there is a discount available?
Yes, for all viewers that are watching Carter's video right now, you'll offer a discount code. It's going to be Carter15. For anybody that watches this video that uses the code, you'll get 15% off your total order.
You're surprised. I did not know that was coming, buds.
All right. Thank you so much, Bianca. I wish you great luck today.
All right, now I'm going to go shopping.
I hope you had as much fun as I did at the Maker's Market. I thought I'd show you what I came home with. I have Christine's Still Heart journal, which I just love. It's absolutely beautiful. I ended up with a bunch of little stocking stuffers. So when we saw Delaney and Aaron, I bought some little stocking stuffers for my girls. I bought a stocking stuffer for myself because sometimes I get forgotten on stocking stuffers. So I bought my own. Kind of pathetic, right? But there it is. I got some pure Castile soap, which I'll also stick in my stocking should there not be much else in there. I got a couple of beeswax candles, which I love to burn. They smell just like honey. I absolutely love these. So these will be kitchen candles for me. I got some more stocking stuffers and some bath salts when we went down to see Bianca. These will be for the girls and their stockings. I got a couple of candles. The apple cider candle was just my favorite. I just love the smell. These are going to go in my guest room, so when the kids come, they'll be here for Christmas. They will have wonderful, brand new, fabulous smelling candles in their guest rooms. And then I got some stocking stuffers so that they can take home their own versions of the apple cider candle. And they came with these cute little matchsticks. I just think that's adorable. So that will go in the stocking as well. I'll put links to all of these companies down below, and I hope that you will go visit them. A couple of them were able to offer us discounts for my viewers, so I hope that you'll take advantage of that and know that these women were all, they were just absolutely delightful, and they all took great care in everything that they put together. So thank you so much for being here. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.